We Are ND Nation podcast, a new era of Irish football with your host, me, Evan J. Thomas, and my new co-host, Dennis Stover, as we will bring you special guests throughout the season. We will go deep with your Irish football coverage in a way that you haven't seen or heard before. Dennis and Evan are just two best friends, lifelong Irish fans, bringing you the best Notre Dame football coverage, analysis, and our opinions on a weekly basis. You can watch or listen to the We Are ND Nation podcast on YouTube every Friday during the season on wearendnation.com. Follow us on the socials. We are ND Nation. Go Irish. What's up, Irish fans? Evan J. Thomas here along with Dennis Stover, and this is the We Are ND Nation podcast. This week on the podcast, we have our takes on this week's 38-27 loss to number 6 USC. We will have our Name That Former ND Player segment with Dennis, but today we have a Notre Dame legend to introduce. So I'm going to get into this. This is always fun. So originally a defensive back, he was converted to tailback during the 1991 season and won a spot in the starting lineup in 1992. During his senior season at Notre Dame, he enjoyed massive success, rushing for 1,372 yards with an 8.0 yards per carry average while scoring 13 touchdowns. He was named an All-American and finished 5th in the Heisman Trophy voting that year. He was drafted by the Washington Redskins in the second round of the 1993 draft. He had a great rookie season with 1,063 rushing yards, 4.8 yards per carry. Welcome to the show, We Are ND Nation podcast, the one and only Reggie Brooks.
You got it.
Reggie Brooks. Hey, don't forget to mention that he dragged 6 Wolverines to the end zone on his way to score before he himself was knocked out. So that in and of itself is a wonderful stat because dragging them skunk bears all across the field makes me very happy. So
the one thing about having you on, Dennis was actually one that requested you many times, and I'm like, all right, I got to ask Reggie, and I know I've met you on the sideline a few times when I was photographing the last couple of years, so you're usually there with the former players kind of doing your job, so it was kind of cool to finally get you on, part of the 93 team, or 92 team.
No, 92.
92.
Snowball.
Yeah.
Snowball.
So that's
It was a bit of a snowball in Boston. I mean, the BC game it was very reminiscent.
Yeah, no doubt. So you were at that game, obviously, a couple weeks ago, right?
No, I did not go. I'm no longer in South Bend. I'm no longer with the university.
Okay, so I thought you were. Obviously, it still says that on your Wikipedia bio, so obviously they have to update that. And by the way, you are allowed to swear if you need to. We do once in a while, and it's kind of fun when we do. So
well, after this game, it's possible.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, no doubt. So what is up with you? What have you been up to there, Reg?
I am now working for the Hostess Heroes Foundation that focuses on supporting former players that have, found themselves in a hard time, whether it's mental health, physical health, addiction, things of that nature, as well as a scholarship fund. And we have a partnership with the Bread of Life food drive. So we work with a lot of the local clubs to do food drives to combat food insecurity.
Wow, so you're doing great. Awesome stuff with all that there. That's fantastic. So when was the last time you were actually at a game then?
I was at the Clemson game.
Okay, so you were.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
That had to be a fun one to be at.
Yes. So I was like, yeah. Well, I've kind of gotten into like I would guess that you would say the California team views now that said you don't venture in the South Bend post mid-October because I'm in Texas now and it's considerably warm here. I think today it's close to 80.
Oh, wow.
And I was at that BC game freezing my tail off and getting snowed on. So while you
look very cold.
While you were sitting there in 80-degree temperature, I was getting my feet and my ass frozen. So, it was, but I did get to see a 44-0 victory. So let's start off the show. Obviously, we went over what you currently do, which is amazing. But I want to hear Reggie's first thoughts on that game against USC this past Saturday.
That was rough. That was a rough one. I will say I was thoroughly disappointed that we did not run the ball more or more effectively. I was not a fan of the style of run game that we were using, because it was not the same as the one against Clemson and not the same as one against BC. So I was really, really bothered by that. I mean, really bothered by that. So we were starting off running laterally. I'm like, you're not going to beat SC running laterally. Their speed is, you're playing right into their hands when you run laterally. You have to run downhill, power run, and we have the offensive line to knock guys off the ball and let our guys get physical with them. And I'm sorry, for the all year, SC's defense is not that good.
I was saying that all last week. In the podcast.
It's not that good. So I'm like, I was just dumbfounded that we couldn't, even if they have 8 in the box, right? Just knock somebody off the ball, stick that double team, and let Audric and Logan and Chris Tyree pound it up in there, because it wears them down. And it also keeps their offense off the field, because
that too.
That number 13 is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
That kid is special. All aside, because I've gotten all the memes and stuff with him and his fingernails, and my thing is this, and I'm by no means a fan of SC, but hey, you can do that if you back it up.
And he did.
What do you got? Fuck ND on his nails? Is that what it was?
Fuck ND on his nails.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And it's like, and I've gotten people that, like, teammates, like I said, man, I'm like, come on, let's be real, fellas. We did some things that was worse than that, or just as bad. So I'm like, hey, but how you shut that up is punch him in the mouth. I mean, you boom, drill him in the mouth. That kills all that.
Exactly. And it's funny you say that, how back in your day, or back in the early 90s, late 80s, I mean, they had towels that said, hit lists. So
exactly.
Not fuck it and ND on his nails, but yeah, I mean, back in the day, they had hit lists, names. So that was
I'm like, it was funny. Like I said, I'm getting from emails and texts from former teammates. Like, fellas, really? We gonna? I mean, I understand why you're pissy about it, because that was disrespectful. But again, I mean, we've done some disrespectful things on the train too. And I will say this: it's a good thing they didn't have social media back in the day.
That is true.
Well, it's funny to me for him to even do that. He doesn't even understand the rivalry of NDSC. He's there for not even a full year. He just got to the school. 20 of them just got to the school. 20 free agents they brought in. And
again, that's a whole nother topic.
But it really is. It's like
that NIL and the transfer portal is literally free agency.
That's
college free agency.
I said USC won free agency 2021, and they sure did, because they got a whole new team this past year.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I hope people are recognizing kids at home don't go to play for Lincoln Riley, because he's not going to recruit you, because if you're not any good, he'll just bring in somebody else from the outside. We got to come up with a name for him, like the poodle. I have this.
It's not just him. I said this is. I wouldn't be surprised. That's why you're going to get more of the older coaches that are leaving the profession, because they're not ready for this.
Yeah.
You don't. You have this was ushered in a way that is going to be very difficult for coaches to manage teams, because it's a free for all, and especially in this day and age where you got kids that are so much into the if I'm not the guy right away, even though you haven't earned it, I'm out.
Right. Yeah. It's gonna be semi-pro football.
It is, and you're gonna see people like literally plucking kids from other schools, like those mid majors. They're gonna develop them and get them going, and when they're juniors and seniors, you're going to get the Power 5 schools is going to pluck them off and say, and then you're going to have the reverse of that, where you're going to have guys that aren't able to make it at the these top power, the group of 5 or Power 5 group. They're going to go to these smaller schools and get coached up and still have success, but but the ones that lose the most are the incoming recruits a lot of times. Because we saw what happens when you use the NIL for recruits. Texas A&M. If you have an unproven commodity and it doesn't go well, it's going to go bad.
Now it's crazy to think he still has a job.
I'll tell you this: looking at the transfer portal this year, I would love to see. There's one name out there that would be great in a Notre Dame jersey: Drake May.
Drake May is in the transfer portal?
No, I'm just saying it would be a great.
That would not happen. I'm just gonna tell you. I completely agree. I mean, if I think about it, it's not considered tampering anymore. I couldn't tamper because I don't work at Notre Dame anymore. So that kid would be ideal. I mean, he would be the perfect.
Maybe I could send him a DM.
That again, I don't follow recruiting all that much, but you're talking about somebody that would just, come right in and be a dynamic player. I mean, the kid is what, 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", 200-something pounds, and can move.
He's ready to go.
And can move. Yeah. And I would say with our offensive line, hey, he would have some protection.
Yeah, we would hate the transfer portal until we actually pull a good one. So,
well, if we start using it, we don't have to get 20 players like SC, but damn. No.
I've been saying this for a while. We're quarterback away.
That's man.
You get a dynamic quarterback because you have the components. The offensive line. With Harry Hestead back, I have every confidence this offensive line will continue to get better. And they're young. This is a young offensive line. They'll continue to gel. There was receiving core you started to see, especially with this last game. Colsey, Merriweather, Thomas. These younger receivers are starting to kind of find their groove. Big ups to Chauncey Stuckey, the receivers coach, because that was, again, my two big issues were, offensive line struggled and the receivers not being able to separate in routes. That just bothered me to no end. And my son will tell you, I'm watching the game and I'll see Thomas stem a route and drive the defender outside and break it up inside. And it's like, did he just stem the route? We can do that. We're allowed. That's acceptable in this day and age. And because I watch 87. This kid is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And just, we all know this was his last year. So but man, if there was I'm wondering, he could come back and,
I would get 2 more years. If he was there in 2020, they got the waiver for the COVID waiver. So
I would help pay him to come back.
He could have 2 years of eligibility left.
There you go. Yeah. So if you had Mayer on that team next year, that would be insane.
Yeah. So as long as somebody can get him the ball.
That's true.
Yeah.
You got.
That's the thing about it. It's like you're quarterback away, and you talk about that position, but it is vital, especially at the college level, because the kid from SC he beat us. He beat us single-handedly.
I was more impressed with their running back than I was with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is good and stuff, but how much of that running around like that is luck? It definitely takes a skill set, obviously, but how much of it is luck? How much of it is, and now maybe I'm sounding like a bitchin' fan, but how much of it is the refs missing holding calls? Because the one time he broke that ridiculous run, there was 3 holding calls on it.
Well, and see, that takes me to my point about officiating as a whole. That's the problem with college officiating. It's by conference.
Yep.
And every conference focuses on one or two aspects of the game and how they call the game. So you'll have the SEC focused on pass interference and, which they don't even believe in that. You can get very handsy in the SEC. And you have the Big Ten, they're focused on, illegal blocks. And you have the Pac-12 that's focused on, what's considered, hands to the face or personal foul. Every conference is, because they'll go around to each school
Right.
And they train their officials at their member institutions, and it's completely different from one conference to the next.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
And like the NFL, there's just the officiating for the NFL.
Right.
Why can't you have a officials, college
NCAA,
officials,
right.
NCAA officials? A buddy of mine, Jack Nolan, has been beating that drum for decades, and I could not agree with him more. So I'm completely there with you, Dennis. Is that you look at the calls? It's like he can't be running around like this and somebody not grab somebody.
Zigzagging like just no way. Spinning like somebody's holding. Somebody is holding.
Yeah. And it didn't get caught.
Cry over spilt milk and sound like a homer, but
that's my problem.
You're good with that, Dennis. You can do that. You can be a homer, man. I'm all for the homer, baby. Bring it on.
I mean, we got you here. It's amazing. So
yeah, and I actually make fun of Bears fans being in Chicago because all they ever do is cry about officiating. I go, well, if you played a good game, you might have won. But
I mean, I honestly do. Like you're right, Evan. In our text, you chalk it up to you take away those 2 turnovers, it might be a different game.
It would completely be a different game. Those 2 turnovers, because you got momentum going into the coming out of the half. You're moving the ball. Yep. You're in plus territory, and that was just a bad turnover.
Yeah, that hurt.
That fumble was just horrible. I mean,
the fumble was a drive killer, and you're having success again. But that's goes to show you how close that game really was.
Exactly.
That it comes down to certain 1 or 2 plays here or there that just makes the difference. Because for all intents and purposes, Drew Pine had a hell of a game throwing the ball 23 of 26. You're not going to get a whole lot better than that.
Yeah.
But those 2 turnovers at critical junctures. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing about the difference was they didn't turn the ball over,
right.
And we did.
And we did. Yeah.
And you're talking about at least 14 points. And if that's the case, that's a 14-point swing.
That's a win. That's a 3-point win.
That's 11 point loss to a 3-point win.
Right.
Yeah, Dennis and I were going back. We go back and forth every game day on what the hell's going on, and we kind of stopped at one point. It was just like we're done.
Well, it's
kind of over. It sucks because I knew even though they played and were like really into it, you just can tell that they were just grasping for straws for the end, and they just couldn't get there.
Yeah, all I had was flashbacks of that fucking 2002 game, and Carson Palmer doing the same shit. He get the Heisman. He didn't deserve the Heisman, and this kid doesn't either. He's good. I'm not taking anything.
Get my vote.
This year he doesn't get the Heisman. Maybe next year. I don't think he. But
he won the Heisman with that game.
See, that's what I mean. How is Notre Dame irrelevant?
Okay, the fact that people say Notre Dame is irrelevant is the very essence of them not being irrelevant.
Exactly.
And you can ask any, whether out of bounds, like I said, hey, college football is better when Notre Dame is good.
Exactly. It's just funny because
it benefits everybody.
To hear Chris Fowler the whole game gushing, I swear at times I felt he was sitting naked in the booth and just raising himself up because he could not stop talking about the University of Spoiled Children. It was unbelievable.
But you got to think about this. How long has SC been down? It's been a while. Years. So, but again, and you talk about those classic rivalries, the Ohio States and Michigan, the Notre Dame, USC, the Alabama, all, you to have this series or this this rivalry with the significance and relevance that it had this past weekend. I think wasn't it didn't they break a record or something in viewership or something? Because the power of that rivalry and to see it come back as strong as it did this year, it doesn't get any better than that.
I know that Michigan-Ohio State game was one of the highest rated in
I think it's the highest rated game of the year.
Yeah.
So there you
But
go.
again, but there's a reason for that, and to me, justified. I'm not a Ohio State fan. Sure as hell, not a Michigan fan. But I love college football, and I think there's value in it. And I think we're with all the drama with this, the conference movements and the shifting here and there, we're losing what I feel has been the very essence of what college football is about. And it's those stark rivalries that just Dennis, you feel me? It's like when you just see it, it's like you those are the things that you live for. And we've lost sight of that, and we've lost sight of it to money. And I just, and that's because again, you with this free agency stuff with the NIL and the portal, you used to have like you said, Caleb Williams comes in, he's trying to play up the rivalry by with the nail polish. He doesn't really get it.
Yeah. No.
And I remember, like I said, Coach Holtz used to make us take a test as a freshman if you were going to have the opportunity to make the trip to USC. And it was a test on the rivalry of USC Notre Dame.
Exactly, because it's the biggest rivalry, and obviously he was probably watching whatever he heard from alumni or whatever, but he doesn't fully comprehend it. Isaiah Foskey was there his whole year. He understands. All the kids on ND understand. I'm sure there's kids from SC that understand it as well, but it's easy to come in there and Lincoln Riley again. This guy, he just inherits teams. He got Bob Stoops' team or whatever, and he got a Heisman Trophy winner. Now, for some reason, this guy's going to have like 4 Heisman Trophy winners that he's coached. It's just, I can't wrap my head around it. What's that?
If Caleb wins, I think it would be 3, and then Jalen Hurts was like second one year.
That's right. Okay. So, but still 3. And I'm just like, maybe Kyler Murray was worthy. I don't think Baker Mayfield was, but
let me do this. We're gonna go to quick break.
Yeah, okay. So we're going on.
And before we go to break, Dennis and I every week we do name that former ND player. So what I do is I read off stats of a player. Dennis, we go to break, we come back, and he hopefully knows who it is. Last week he got it.
Yeah.
Last week you got Carlisle Holiday. You ready for this week's?
I am.
Reggie, please don't give this one away, all right? So we got former wide receiver, played from 1990 to 1993. Former teammate.
93.
There you go. Total catches, 80 catches for 1,397 yards and 4 touchdowns in his career. Do you know?
Yeah, I know. Lou didn't have Lou. I'm not naming him. I'm just saying Lou didn't have many receiving stats, except for Tim Brown.
We didn't throw a lot.
Right.
I was looking at these stats and I'm like, wow, really? That's it?
Yeah.
So there you go. So we're gonna.
But we actually had quite a few receivers that made it to the league, even without like huge stats.
Exactly.
I think I got it. God, I think I got it.
So we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. Dennis Stover, Reggie Brooks, our special guest, Evan J. Thomas, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes after the E2B2 commercial. There you go.
E2B2.
Welcome back to the E2B2. Welcome back to the We Are ND Nation podcast. Dennis Stover, Evan J. Thomas, and our special guest, Reggie Brooks, with us today. Yeah! So
Reggie Brooks, baby.
Right before the break, I gave Dennis the hints to name that former ND player. So once again, I'll give it to him again. And here we go. Wide receiver, played from 1990 to 1993. Total catches, 80. Total yards in his career, 1,397, and 4 touchdowns. Dennis, who do you got?
Derek Mays? It's not Lake Dawson, is it? Oh my God! Why do I always do that?
You always have one name, and then you always pick that.
No, I was thinking in my head. I almost said Lake Dawson. I blurted it out, but I didn't. And then I was thinking I was getting confused. Oh man, it's always confusing.
Well, I would say I knew it because of the number of touchdowns. Because
Lake,
I remember Lake's. Because Derek had more touchdown receptions.
Yeah.
Like his first 3 catches of his career as a freshman,
touchdowns.
Derek touchdowns. I'm like, who does that? But Lake was probably one of the most fierce blockers. I've literally seen him just dismantle a defensive back, and I was kind of scared after watching him. I mean, literally, he grabbed him and drove him into the ground. It's like, that was assault. You can see a receiver do it to a defensive guy. Believe me, I'm loving it because, like I said, he was responsible for several of my long runs because he had defensive backs terrified.
That's the downfield blocking. I'm sure you gave him a couple of attaboys.
And with
Lake, we called him Bam Bam. I mean, because this dude was strong.
That's awesome. He was a big kid.
And with those stats, he was a 3rd-round pick by the Chiefs in '94.
Well, because he's on good teams. I mean,
He's Kansas City. He's actually doing great now. He's a executive in NFL for the Buffalo. In their scouting department. He should have been a GM by now. His football IQ is one of the best I've ever been around. And I'm not saying it because he was a teammate. I mean, just watching him and seeing how he evaluates talent, because he'll come to, when I was working at Notre Dame, he would come by and stop in and we talk, and just his how he evaluated players. He was more holistic in his evaluation, not just, the raw stats, but, the type of person that you were, how you competed. He was always looking for those intangibles. And I think that was the kind of player he was. And it makes a difference in, who can, when you make that next step to the NFL, you got to have the right mindset, because it will eat you up if you're not ready.
Yeah.
Great. All right. We ready for segment 2? We have the chaos last week in the college football ranks. We had 3 top 10 teams lose. We had LSU. Yay! They fucking lost. Thank God. Ohio State losing to Michigan, which obviously we were hoping Ohio State. And then Clemson getting beat by South Carolina.
1 point. Yeah.
1 point. So now we have championship weekend. And we actually have, there are 6 games on the docket this weekend. And I'm just going to start. We're going to do just pick a team who I'm going to read here. We'll start with Reggie, go to Dennis, and then I'll do the last one.
Okay.
Let's go with the Big Ten championship. Who do you got between number 2, Michigan, at least right now, and then Purdue?
Michigan. They're playing at a high level that, I'm seeing a while. And again, they know who they are. And this has been the team Harbaugh has been looking for. And it started last year. It started with the team last year, and it rolled into this team. And the way they just dominated the line of scrimmage, I just don't see Purdue having the answer for that.
Same thing, Michigan.
Yeah, I'm picking Michigan too. I got a friend who's a Purdue fan that's going, and he keeps predicting Purdue. And I'm like, you're such a homer, but I get it.
Yeah, it'd be something if they pulled off an upset. But.
Well, he's like, they're going to win by 6. I go, seriously? You think Purdue's going to hold them 6 points less? It's possible, but I don't see it happening.
Not very likely.
we all have Michigan. So the Pac-12 game, we got USC versus Utah. Reggie, who you got on that one?
I'm gonna go with USC, but that's not a gimme. That is not a gimme. And if USC does not play with the same intensity they did against Notre Dame, Utah can beat them. They're beatable, and the reason I pick them is because they're playing at a high level, and that offense is just ridiculous right now.
Dennis, who you got?
I'm just going with Utah because spoiled children just pissed me the fuck off. So, again, I'll take ND in the Coliseum 8 out of 10 times to win. Anyway,
I got
Utah.
I got the University of.
I know SC is going to win though.
Yeah, spoiled children, unfortunately, I think are going to win this one. All right, next up, we got Big 12, TCU versus Kansas State. This could change the whole perspective.
TCU, this team is playing lights out right now. And, every time you think TCU is not that good, they just find a way to win. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple.
Dennis, who you got?
TCU.
TCU across the board.
Getting it done. First year coach.
Now, if they do lose, that's going to change everything massively.
Well, Ohio State would get in.
Or Alabama.
USC, Michigan take care of business. Yeah, that would be. Ohio State would get in.
Now, the one that I'm hoping is a major slaughter rule, the SEC game. We got Georgia versus LSU. Reggie, who you got?
I have Georgia. I said that is the most complete team that I've seen this year, and they've just continued to play at a level that is, and that defense is sick. So definitely going with Georgia.
What are they at? 25 straight wins? More than that?
Something like that.
At least, because it's 2 undefeated years in a row so far. So that's kind of where it sounds like. Dennis, who you got?
Georgia. Yeah. Georgia. Ugg is going to take it.
Georgia here as well. Next up, we got American Atlantic. We got Tulane versus UCF. Reggie.
I haven't seen a lot of either of these teams, but again, I'm going to go with UCF just because they're more of a known commodity to me. They've done it longer, but again, that's a toss-up. But I'm going to go with UCF.
Dennis?
I think I'm going to take the Green Wave. Too little Tulane action.
I'm going Tulane just because of the way they played Cincinnati and how they've just kind of handled business all year.
I mean, they were ranked pretty high at one point.
They were. And the last one on there, we got the ACC Championship, Clemson, North Carolina. That's like
I'm going with Tar Heels. Nice. I mean, again, just to your point, May. It's hard to bet against that dude, and I'm a bit of a Mac Brown fan just because he's been an old school, and just what he's brought. He's brought this team back to prominence, and so Clemson, they're just too up and down. You just don't know what you're gonna get.
I just love Mac Brown's dances in the locker room after games. Those were epic. You got a 70-year-old man doing TikTok dances. I mean,
it's great.
I mean,
you don't get any better than that.
The kids love it, so
exactly. Well, then Dennis, go ahead. I'll let you go next.
It's a tough. I mean, North Carolina's playing pretty well. Maybe it's hard to not pick North Carolina. I'm gonna say Clemson though. I'm gonna say Dabo gets them ready. It's still hard to go against, and they only lost to South Carolina by 1 point. I mean, they're playing off that Tennessee game. So. Maybe Clemson in a squeaker.
So the way that DJ played last week, what did he have? 99 passing yards. I don't
know why that kid.
Yeah.
His freshman year, he was amazing, and then nothing.
I'm going North Carolina to upset Clemson on this one.
Yeah.
I'm just giving it to my parents since they live in North Carolina, just because I don't like Clemson.
Yeah.
So there's our picks for the week. I mean,
there it is.
Should be amazing. Obviously, we got to wait until what is the next Sunday, the bowl. Where they pick the games?
No,
December 4th.
Sunday will be the bowl.
Oh, that's right.
This
Sunday.
Sunday.
I'm sorry.
They'll do it right after a conference. Yeah.
That's my birthday. Holy cow!
Yeah, the 4th. Right.
Yeah. It's actually my brother's birthday, so we're gonna be getting together.
Well, happy brother Tony, and happy birthday to me.
Tony's birthday.
No, that's not Tony's. That's my older brother.
You gotta let that know before I get
excited.
My fault. I have an older brother that's older than me and Tony.
Okay, so not Tony's birthday, but the other Brooks brother.
I love it.
Brooks brother. That's like
Brooks brothers.
Isn't it?
You got to get a suit deal.
There you go. So we'll find out. Obviously, Sunday.
Get an NIL suit deal.
Are you allowed to do that still?
Kenny Minchie coming in.
There you go. So, holy cow, man. It was awesome having you on the show. Finally got to get you on. I know a few times we tried earlier this year. Just didn't work out. But, man, you're here. You did this. We've had some of your ex-teammates on the show. We had Zorich. We had Lee Becton. We had Lisa Kelly, who you know. I mean, it's been amazing. We had Troy Pride Jr. We had one of the newbies.
And I'm familiar with him too. He actually, I convinced him to run track for a couple of years at Notre Dame. I was administrator for track, and I'm a Troy fan. I've always Troy Pride. Although I did not allow him to go. I told him he can only go from the locker room to the hotel. I mean, from the track to the hotel when we were in Clemson, because Clemson's facilities are pretty ridiculous.
Like ridiculous or like old?
Yes. Okay. Oh my God. No, it's like you can't go looking around here. You don't need to see all this stuff. Wow. It was ridiculous. I mean, they have a bowling alley in their locker room.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I mean, just the whole dynamic of it. And like I said, I got the tour of it. So the SID at the time was a Notre Dame alum. So I got the opportunity to kind of tour it. And this was just football. They literally have a nap room. Like,
damn.
Like,
I have a nap room.
Yeah, but this is like full on pods and stuff. And they have like putt golf, freaking full court basketball. They have a little stream run in the back where you can go fishing. And I'm like, and they have a movie theater.
Wow. That's
just for football. I'm like,
our facilities. I hope BK
is awesome.
Hey, real quick, I had to stop because I hope Lincoln Riley isn't the second coming of Pete Carroll. And then with that being said, do you think Marcus Freeman is just Bob Davie or Ty Willingham? Is he going to be able to really get it done?
I would say this. I think to me, Marcus is different. He understands the importance of, tradition and the traditions of Notre Dame, but he's a hell of a recruiter. He's very disciplined. He's very focused. The areas that he has to address are he's got to get the offense consistent, and then second half adjustments.
Yeah.
All year they've not done well with that.
Right. Yeah.
So whatever it is they need to do, if they can address, the offense and being consistent with the running game, and then second half adjustments, he'll be fine. Because I had us going 9-3, but next year is going to really will set the tone.
All right, so
we just got to get a quarterback.
Yeah, no shit.
We're about to be done here. So Reggie, can you give us any websites that you wanted to plug before we go, really quick?
Well, like I said, work for Hostess Heroes Foundation. Definitely go out to hostessheroes.org. Our focus is love, trust, and commitment. That's the mantra that Coach always talked about, and it's the importance of being a teammate for life. We play a sport, but guys struggle. They go off and they have issues and struggles. So it's a support system that's needed, and I think it's something that we want to be able to affect change not only in the former teammates, but also in this next generation of football players that will become former athletes, to be a support for them as well.
Awesome. So with Dennis Stover, Evan J. Thomas, Reggie Brooks.
Thank you, Reggie, so much.
So awesome having you on. I will definitely shoot you a link once this is up, which should be another day or so. You can check We Are ND Nation on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our website, wearendnation.com. So thank you, guys. Until next time, Dennis, go Irish.
Fuck Michigan.
Yeah.
Go Irish.
Love it.
Thank you, Reggie.
Thank you for the memories too, Reggie.
Later, fellas.
It's amazing.
My pleasure. Enjoy it.
Snowball down.
We Are ND Nation podcast, a new era of Irish football with your host, me, Evan J. Thomas, and my new co-host, Dennis Stover, as we will bring you special guests throughout the season. We will go deep with your Irish football coverage in a way that you haven't seen or heard before. Dennis and Evan are just two best friends, lifelong Irish fans, bringing you the best Notre Dame football coverage, analysis, and our opinions on a weekly basis. You can watch or listen to the We Are ND Nation podcast on YouTube every Friday during the season on wearendnation.com. Follow us on the socials. We are ND Nation. Go Irish.